At the 1964 New York World's Fair, visitors could experience a piece of the future, a telephone call with a live picture. AT&T's Picturephone placed a camera and a small screen beside the telephone. Public rooms connected callers in New York, Washington and Chicago, and the demonstration promised that distance might soon feel different. The technology was real. The product was not ready to become normal. Picturephone service reached selected offices in 1970, but it struggled for reasons that still shape every communication platform. First was cost. Sending live video required specialized equipment and network capacity. Second was quality. The image was small and limited. Third was the network effect. A picturephone was valuable only if the person you wanted to call could also use one. Few customers created little reason for the next customer to join. There was also a social problem. A voice call lets people walk around, look distracted, or answer without being presentable. Video asks for attention and appearance. Many people simply did not want every call to include a camera. By 1973, the early service had failed. Yet its failure was not proof that video calling was useless. It showed how many supporting technologies and habits had to arrive together. Cheap digital cameras, powerful computers, broadband internet, compression software and global platforms eventually reduced the cost of a video call to almost nothing. Work and family life supplied reasons to use it. The picturephone had predicted the destination, but it asked customers to build the road themselves. Today, video calling feels ordinary. In 1964, it was a working future trapped inside a product too early for its network. That is the short version of the picturephone story. To understand why it mattered, we need to slow down and examine the entire system around it. The operator, the mechanism, the infrastructure, the economics, the social habits, the transition, the exceptions, and the legacy. Start with the human routine. Picturephone proved that a working technical demonstration is not the same thing as a useful communication network. The important comparison is not between human labor and a machine in isolation, but between two complete routines. A product earns a place in daily life when it removes decisions, interruptions, and opportunities for error as well as physical effort. Notice who begins the task, who watches it, who corrects it, and who cleans up afterward. Those quiet obligations often explain adoption better than a specification sheet. A faster mechanism can still feel slow when it repeatedly calls a person back into the process. Now look closely at the mechanism. Every participant needed compatible equipment and network capacity, so one customer's purchase had little value without many matching customers. A mechanism can appear simple after it becomes familiar, yet its design fixes a chain of choices about timing, force, feedback, and control. Those choices determine what the operator must still notice and what the product can safely decide by itself. The useful question is where judgment lies. It may sit in a lever, a gauge, a physical stop, a warning sound, or the practiced senses of the user. Later designs often look smarter because they move more of that judgment inside the product. The third layer is infrastructure. Video also changed the social contract of a call by demanding attention, appearance, lighting, and a suitable place to be seen. Objects do not spread on engineering merit alone. They rely on power, communications, roads, plumbing, retail, repair, standards, or trained workers. When that supporting network changes, the same object can move from essential to inconvenient without changing its physical form. Infrastructure is easiest to notice when it is missing. Once it becomes reliable, Designers can assume it exists and remove features that once compensated for uncertainty. The next generation then appears simpler only because more complexity has moved out of sight. There is also an economic question. The small image and specialized connection had to justify a price far above the familiar voice telephone. Buyers compare more than the price on the day of purchase. They also absorb time, maintenance, supplies, training, risk, and the cost of keeping an older system alive. A replacement becomes persuasive when the total burden shifts, even if the original product still works. That burden is distributed unevenly. The purchaser, operator, repairer, employee, and family member may each experience a different cost. A successful product can therefore win by solving the problem of the person who makes the decision, even when another person performs the work. The social meaning matters too. A successful video call system required cameras, compression, processors, screens, broadband, software, and a large address book to improve together. Everyday products signal expectations about speed, cleanliness, status, privacy, responsibility, and skill. People may accept an awkward device when it represents progress, or abandon a capable one when its rituals begin to feel out of step with ordinary life. Advertising can amplify that shift, but it does not create it alone. Friends, workplaces, shops, and public institutions teach people what normal use looks like. Once the new behavior becomes ordinary, the old routine can seem demanding even to someone who once performed it without complaint. Replacement rarely happens in a single moment. Later computers and phones absorbed those costs because their hardware already existed for many other purposes. Old and new systems overlap while prices fall, habits adjust, and supporting services reorganize. During that interval, decline can look slow. Once the surrounding network tips toward the replacement, however, the remaining market can contract with surprising speed. This is why a date of invention rarely marks a clean beginning, and a date of discontinuation rarely marks a clean end. The useful timeline follows access, affordability, confidence, and repeated use. Those changes can lag behind the laboratory by years or decades. The surviving exceptions are revealing. Work, migration, and family relationships eventually supplied repeated reasons to accept the extra effort of being visible. A product that disappears from the mainstream can remain valuable in places with different constraints. Survival is evidence that design is always conditional. Convenience for one household or business may be fragility, waste, or unnecessary complexity for another. These holdouts are not simply people trapped in the past. They can be rational users optimizing for control, durability, independence, familiarity, or low operating cost. Looking at the exceptions protects the history from becoming a simple story in which every newer product is automatically better. Finally, consider the legacy. Picturephone failed early but revealed that communication products depend as much on shared habits and networks as on engineering. The most durable inheritance is often not the object itself but the behavior it normalized. Later products can hide the same task behind software, sensors, or a larger network, making yesterday's visible mechanism difficult to recognize inside today's routine. To find that inheritance, follow the promise rather than the shape. Ask what uncertainty the product removed, what action it made repeatable, and what expectation it taught users to carry forward. The casing may vanish while the promise becomes an invisible standard for everything that follows. Taken together, these layers explain why the Picturephone was neither a foolish dead end nor an inevitable step toward the present. It was a practical answer to one historical arrangement of labor, technology, cost, and expectation. Its rise shows what people urgently needed at that moment. Its decline shows which surrounding conditions changed. And its legacy survives wherever a newer product quietly performs the same job with fewer visible steps. That is why ordinary relics deserve more than nostalgia. They reveal the hidden systems inside everyday life.